I received some interesting questions from you, and I'm going to relay, if that is okay with you, between questions from those of you who are live and those of you who had sent me recently questions. I suppose you guys have there already a list of questions you'd like to ask me. Do you? If you, when you place the questions, please write question in the beginning of it, so we know easily how to spot that it is a question, and then I can bring here. Have you guys downloaded this book? I have received some nice feedbacks. It's such a easy text to read, and really you read it very fast because it's not long. However, I am very pleased with the content, different than my book in vibrational state, which is huge, right? I know some of you have been brave enough to read it. So the vibrational state is 500 pages. I do not have a sample in English here with me, only the one in Portuguese. But this was written to be like a reference book with all of the different aspects that are so far known, or at least that I am aware of, in regards to the energy body, chakras, vibrational state, and how to produce the vibrational state, and especially the technique that I call VELO, voluntary energetic longitudinal oscillation, because this technique is very broad in terms of its benefits, and basically no side effect, which is a plus that is not easy to find with any technique. Very good. I have now here my questions here, but I have something from JW, so I'm going to bring this first. So I start with those of you who are online. I would like to maximize my energetic looseness in order to promote more projections. Despite the energy exercise, do lifestyle changes such as diet influence our chakras? Yes, but I would say diet only if there is a dietary issue that is not being observed. If the person eats too much, or it's some sort of food that makes the digestion heavy, there are some foods that for specific people can bloat, that interferes, because then the relaxation, the metabolism does not go down enough when we are about to leave the body. Therefore, the relaxation is not ideal, and not necessarily we will be feeling uncomfortable. But just the fact of being aware of our digestive tract is already a big, big minus for the lucid astral projection. So what I would say is that lifestyle matters a lot, but much more in terms of stress, worries, keeping a regular schedule. So eating more or less at the same hour. I know it's funny. What does it have to do with the out-of-body experience? But it does, and I will explain why. But eating at regular hours, eating properly, choosing a time to do your exercises to leave the body makes a huge difference. Not that there is one time that is more appropriate than another. You have to see in your case. But once you determine what is the best time for you, if you want to control more your astral projection, it would be better if you would do the exercises at the same hour. Now let me explain why all of these aspects that I have mentioned. We tend to create some sort of perception of our astral body. And very often, I do not know how it is for you who is here watching me now, but it's a very common process that even though we could be completely relaxed, apparently comfortable, but not necessarily 100%, we compare our level of relaxation to leave the body with the relaxation we have like in the regular day, or with our moment in which we are active. So of course we think and say we are very relaxed, okay, ready to fly. But if we are still sensing the physical body, and if we are still aware of the surroundings, like paying too much attention to the noises, we are conscious of our position in the bed, so having a lot of reference of the physical dimension, of the physical world, the projection can happen, but it's a bit harder. So looseness of the energy as you already said, is key, is number one thing, because you can leave the body in any condition, even sitting. The more loose the energies are, and the more balanced is the energy field of the environment, the easier to have the projection. But these details, in terms of regularity of the exercise, having a constant routine, improves a lot. Because when the sensation of the physical body comes, for example, in terms of a deep relaxation, when we no longer sense the body, okay, we can perceive it, and we are still aware of the energy process, we are still conscious inside of the body. Most people, when they reach a point in which they do not feel their physical body anymore, they are already gone. I mean, completely unconscious, asleep, sometimes not even dreaming. So another thing is the regularity, for example, with the meals, with the moment to do the exercise. This helps to create such a discipline in our mind, mostly, in which at the moment that we are going to do the exercise, we start creating almost like a conditioning for ourselves, a positive conditioning, that at that time we are going to relax. Our focus is only on detaching from the body. We should not at that moment be concerned with what we are going to do tomorrow. Of course, all of you guys know it. But when we establish a routine, and we will give ourselves days in that routine for us to be able to be there and say, no need to think of this. Don't repress your thoughts. It's not repressing. It's just letting them pass and reminding yourself that's not for that moment. Without repression, if you repress, they keep insisting and it creates some sort of anxiety inside of you. Not an anxiety that necessarily you will feel uncomfortable, but you will be anxious enough not to be able to produce the conscious out-of-body experience. So that's why the routine matters a lot. Eating at the same hour, you get used to your sensations at different moments. Establishing to yourself, now is the moment to relax, now is the moment to work. And especially nowadays that we all have been working from home, it's not necessarily so easy to have that discipline. But the fact that you repeat the astral projection exercise at the same time of the day, your energy starts reacting sooner to the process of the disconnection. So sensations will come sooner. You'll be aware of which steps you have already moved on sooner, and you will know how to handle each one. So that is my advice, besides what you said. Working with energy to keep your energy very loose. You have to make sure the energy exercise I recommend the most, and that is bringing great results, is the velo technique, because velo is a technique to produce the vibration state. The vibration state is a phenomenon, it's not a technique. It's a phenomenon that happens when our energies are very balanced, loose, and they reach like a resonance point. All chakras, they are in the same type of frequency. So it starts a resonance. So they are vibrating in unison. So it's different than just feeling a buzz or a vibration. It's a phenomenon. So velo cleans our energies, bring us closer to that. Not necessarily you need the vibrational state to leave the body. Please let me emphasize this. Many people confuse that. You don't need. You don't need anything actually to leave the body. Anything. You just need to be more focused on the non-physical dimension than in the physical one. And that can happen in the most strange conditions. But if we want to control the astral projection, if we want to optimize our chances of having success in the technique, then these details I mentioned matter a lot. And usually it takes some time for this to start bringing higher results. So for some people, they are going to be creating this routine for some days, others for some week, but you guys can see anybody who have constant astral projections, lucid ones, under control. Constant, I mean, with a certain period, so every week, every other night, or 2 per month, it doesn't matter, but there is a frequency and it's steady. They are having it for the whole year, for example, in that frequency. Everyone who can have this level of control with true astral projection, let me emphasize this, with true astral projection, they have a certain routine in their, not only in their energy exercise, but in everything. So that improves a lot. I hope this gave you some ideas. JW, thank you. I'm going to get one of the questions from you that are posted on the comments, okay? So here we have a question from KL. And she says she's not going to, she or he, I don't know, just assume it was a she, that she's not going to be able to be with us in this video. So, question, everything about hearing in the astral projection. She would like to understand it and to know it. And I think that's a great question because there's lots to be understood. Can we be in astral body and hear what our family is talking in our house, for example, or same when somebody else comes in the astral body in our place, can they hear what we are talking about? So that is a very nice question. And let me give you some references for that. We are going to go just a step behind a little bit to understand the process of astral projection, which is something that I explain a lot in this book, Astral Projection, that I have. Why? Because this is key for us to understand our own experience. For any of us to be able to interpret what we are experiencing, we need this understanding. So the reference we need here is that when we are out of the body, we can be with different densities in the astral body. Sometimes the astral body is a little denser, with a little bit more of the energy from the silver cord, to put this in very simple words, almost incurring the risk of being too simplified. But for the point here, it works. So then we are going to have one type of interaction with the physical world. But we may be in a dimension that we are a little bit subtler. So the type of interaction we have, our perceptions, how we can manifest, everything is different. Our senses operate in completely different ways. And here we are saying closer to the physical dimension, a little bit further, but how many dimensions exist? How many possibilities of environments for you to go to? How many different types of experiences can you have? I cannot list them, and nobody can list them if it is a study that's careful study about the out-of-body experience, because there are many possibilities. And here in this book, I explain why. I believe you guys have it. If not, you can download it, and then you will get the information from there. But now, once we have brought this idea here, let me comment on something very important. When we are projected and we see someone, first thing an experienced projector does, and I am saying seeing, not hearing, but it's the same process, and I'll get to the hearing. Any experienced projector, first thing that he or she will try to recognize is this person I'm encountering is somebody who is projected, therefore someone projected here in the same level or frequency of the non-physical astral dimension that I am? Or is this consciousness person that I am seeing outside the body someone who is in between lives? Or is it someone who is in the physical body? Because you may be projected, for example, in the street of your house, and you can see people passing by. Sometimes you can even return to the body, go to the window, and confirm. Is this simple, easy, happens every day? No, but many people have had this type of experience, even spontaneously. So that is something that we absolutely can experience. Now, having said that, you see the logics of the answer about hearing outside the body. If we are very close to the physical dimension, it is possible that we hear what is in the environment. However, we are not hearing with our ears. No, we are hearing with our awareness. In the same way, seeing outside the body means seeing with our awareness, not with eyes. We do not need eyes to see outside the body. The astral body works in completely different ways. But we can be lucid enough and in a level of density that is close enough that we can hear what's being said. That's not easy. It's easy to hear, blah, 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 but not easy to distinguish the words. But it can be done. Same thing, somebody who is projected, come close to us in our house, for example, say it's a friend, can they hear what we are saying verbally in the physical body? Can, yes, they can, but not necessarily they will distinguish each word in the sequence because they are sensing at the same time their own astral body, the energy and the environment of the non-physical dimension, astral dimension. They're close to your house. Let's say the visitor is at your house. And they will also be sensing some of the physical dimension, sometimes a little distorted because we are sensing several dimensions at the same time. However, now comes the point here, which is not related to hearing, but answers your question about can someone hear what I'm saying? We would hear what is being said telepathically. Because when we are saying something, there is an information of what we are saying. We imprint in our energy, therefore in our energy field, the idea, the intention, the tone of the information, the quality, let's say ethically speaking or cosmoethically speaking, like we like to say in the consciousness development program, or we can capture in a way the information that is gravitating around even from the emotions, from the motives. So yes, an spirit can hear what we are saying, but it's not hearing, it's in a way capturing the information. So usually that is the process. In same way with us, we can go in the astral projection to a certain environment, a community, or you end up, for example, in a museum or in a public square in a beautiful city or not so beautiful, in a place you know or a place you don't know. But when you are there, you kind of get the information of what is gravitating there, of situations that have happened there, and what sort of energy field, like a matrix, was created, like a sum of all different events that happened there. So you know when you go to a place and you can kind of sense the quality of the energy? So this we can do. So another point I would like to bring in relation to this question is, once we understand that outside the body, our senses are actually a result of our lucidity, we can have very clear perceptions, detailed, with very clear idea of what that means, what is behind it, why we are in that place. But we can also sometimes see something or hear something or feel something, whatever, that becomes a little confusing sometimes during the projection, and we say, what is this I'm seeing? Let me see if I'm seeing correct. Let me try to tune my vision. And there are techniques for this. But other times when we come back to the body and we remember, we say, was that my imagination? Did I see it? Why is that blurred now in my recollection? Sometimes it's just the process of the recollection that creates a clash and we do not recall completely. But sometimes the perception why we were projected outside the body was not clear because the lucidity was not in the ideal condition. That's why managing energy and being able to verify our level of lucidity in the astral projection is super key, super key. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to get a question from those of you who are now here. Can a young child send us negative energy unintentionally when they're angry about something? Yes, they can. If so, how can we help them considering they are too young to control their own energy? The best way to help them and to work with this is to try to create a more balanced field of energy around them. And also to verify in that moment when they are angry. And I have witnessed sometimes a child being angry and there is a real emotion there. And sometimes the child is so strong or is so indignated and so angry that we feel the wave. Now, what I suggest that you do is that you verify if in that moment the child is alone, meaning that wave of energy coming from the child is only his or her own anger, or if there could be some non-physical presence, like some spiritual presence, interfering, aggravating, and that is absolutely normal and common. Some child will have more of an affinity with ideas, emotions, energy that are of a certain type. So some are fearful, some are angry, some they react in a way that they isolate themselves. Some tend to fluctuate. It doesn't matter. It's like us. I'm giving here examples in which we have to help. We have to act. So in this case, when we notice that the energy of the child is too much to be only that, you see one reaction in the child, but what comes is too much to be only that reaction. We have to consider this element that I just mentioned, which is there any sort of spiritual presence participating in this? When my child is with this mood that is angry, does this allow some presence to come close by? So what I suggest that you do, any of you, in a case like this, is that you try and work in the energy field around, as if you could cleanse the energy field and reduce any possibility of intrusion of any negative energy or unbalanced presence to come close and take advantage of that situation or reinforce that situation. You can do this with your own energy. You can learn how to do it, and you can do it by yourself. I recommend, if you are not familiar with, that you study the Velo technique, because that will help you to distinguish this. Is this energy only my child? Is this because I am surprised? Is there something in the room? It gives you a reference because you become super familiar with your energy. And there are videos here teaching about the Velo technique. I have a book, I have a course, you guys. Those of you who follow me, you know this, but I need to emphasize, because once you control your energy, you can emit energy to the room to cleanse that, especially sometimes in the bedroom of the child, making that energy more clean, more peaceful, so that there is less interactions, negative, unbalanced ones, while the child is sleeping, for example. And it's absolutely normal, all of these reactions that you just mentioned in your question. When you apply your, and you can do this, I have a video here teaching how to do it, guys. If you want, you take a look at a video that I think I called How to Cleanse Your House Energetically or something like this. It's going to give you tips. You can do it, but the more you know your energy, the better. That's what I recommend. And little by little, that alleviates the child. When you notice the child is starting to become different, you see the signs, do it before, like preemptively. So you cleanse the energy field. You can even send calming energy to the child. I don't recommend interfering, because that is, for me, a very important principle. For me and for the International Academy of Consciousness that I work with, we are very, very attentive at ethical or cosmo-ethical principles. So we send energy, but we are not going to send energy not to the child, not to anybody, saying, now you are going to do this, as if it were a programming. No, now you will feel well. You feel well, whichever is well for you. Now you'll be peaceful, calm down, but we are not trying to interfere with what the child likes or doesn't like. We are not trying to interfere with what will be the career of choice, if you understand what I mean, or who the child is going to be friends with or not. But every time we cleanse the energy around, we create possibility for better synchronicities, better reaction, and more balanced understanding of the situations around. Some children, they get frustrated very easily. And nowadays, we do not know how to educate. I am not a mother, but of course, I know quite a bit of this by talking to other people, and I have plenty of nieces and nephews, which is not the same, but I see how complex it is nowadays for us to know what is the limit of educating. If you guys want, one day I can do a video about that. Who is the consciousness who is there as our child? How can we handle it? How can we know better what to do? I'm not saying we are going to know 100%, but if we have more references, more information, it helps us to understand some of the situations that sometimes parents or even teachers have to go through. Does it make sense to you? Give me a moment. I'm going to bring another question. Let me read with you this question here. What if you are not able to astral project yourself at the moment, but you get spirits coming to you requesting your help in order to allow them to move on? For example, but I want to answer this question independently of the for example, I guess, because I want to address some important points here. Some people, yes, can have this, can have some presence, spiritual presence of people who are not well. Very rarely they would come and say, I need your help, please do this for me. But I know sometimes it can happen. When this happens, there is some context. So in your case, you here who just asked the question to us, it's Cortium. So in your case, Cortium, you have to think, am I super sensitive? Have I always sensed presences around? So therefore, these presences would know I can sense them clear enough for them to come asking for something specific. You have to know this, because getting close to you and saying, I need your help, anyone can do, even someone with bad intention, like in the physical body. But when you are sensitive enough, you give yourself time to observe the energy of who is there. You will know, oh, this person is really in need of help. This person is confused. This person, I mean, the spirit in between lives. Or you will know, oh, well, this one, I don't sense a need. I sense actually something that is a bit of manipulation. You have to know. In doubt, first thing you do is to observe how your energies are, and you emit energies. The way to help them is by emitting energy. They do not necessarily need you to leave the body to help them. The reason why I'm emphasizing this is because some projectors, and of course, when I say some, it's just a percentage. I'm not saying it's always the case, but nobody explains this that I'm going to explain to you. Some spirits, they invite us to help them, but they lure us at the moment that we are outside the body. And we just open ourselves because we are there to help. What can I do for you? When we open ourselves without discernment, without observing all the different elements of the situation, we may end up exchanging energies with spirits that they are more taking advantage of our energy than being benefited by our energy. When we leave the body to help someone, we are in control. I'm not saying we are not going to see what the presence, the consciousness is needing. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we are going to see and we are going to help according to what we sense is needed, to the extent we sense is needed. And it's very important that this is in the information of the energy we emit. We have some classes, especially in the CDP, in the Consciousness Development Program, in which we explain a lot about who we encounter outside the body. And I can go here discussing with you some of these aspects, but it's a huge topic that we need to have a good understanding of the non-physical astral dimension, the spirit world, to be able to understand all of the details. But sometimes there are consciousness there that they can be smart enough to say something, but they actually intend something different. And of course, saying is not with the words, no? It's not a sound. We do not have air in the astral dimension for the sound to propagate. It's a thought that sometimes is followed by mouth movements. But there are so many different things there. My point here is you trust your discernment. You trust what you are seeing, and you will learn more and more what you will do. Does that help so far? Let me see the rest of your question here and read with everyone else. And then you tell us, for example, I have a friend who was getting nudged by a personality spirit that wanted them to retrieve a certain object, an old handheld human crafted art craft that was estimated to be hundreds of years old. The artifact was in the possession of someone who lived near my friend. My friend told this person about his experience with the spirit, wanting him to retrieve the object. And the person gave it to him at once. Smart. Once my friend had it, he felt the energy of it was heavy. Logically. Why logically? No one who is balanced outside the body will be needing an object. Only consciousness who are very, very attached to old energies, and therefore there is some unfinished business, but sometimes it's more than this. It's really like a type of emotion that attach them to a place or to an object. Only consciousnesses like this would be in need to retrieve an object for themselves. But I am curious here to read the rest of it and see what happened then later. And it was heavy, so we just read, and they say, he performed some cleansing process with it. And after doing this a few times, the heaviness dissipated, and the spirit never returned. How to explain this? Is it the case that sometimes spirits can attach to objects and they are unable to let go of this plane until the attachment is somehow resolved? Yes, there are cases like this, Cortune. There are cases in which an environment has some sort of energy that keeps holding the consciousness there. What surprises me here, and not that it's not possible, but it's not logical with the mechanism of things, is that the consciousness wanted your friend to get the object and cleanse it for the consciousness to be free. But if the consciousness, I mean the spirit, was lucid enough for this and to contact your friend, because it was not you, right? It was your friend. Contact your friend and do all of that. That consciousness was probably also lucid enough to detach from the object. Probably. What I'm saying is that what makes more sense is more the pattern, standard, conduct, or situation in this context. What would be to me more logical would be if the consciousness was concerned with the neighbor, concerned with whoever lived in the house where the object was. So that consciousness wanted those energies to be liberated, for oneself to be liberated, the spirit, the consciousness, but at the same time to alleviate that environment from that heaviness. This makes more sense in my mind because usually consciousnesses who are attached to a certain object and they are very much stuck with that object, they do not have the freedom to come and go as was described. There are exceptions when the consciousness is a little bit more balanced, but if it is a little bit more balanced, why would they be attached? But it's possible. We can imagine situations in which that would be the case. We can imagine, but it's not the most common. That's only what I'm saying. I hope my comments helped you all to understand this context. It was an interesting question. Would you bring another question for us here? Amelinda, can you be attacked during astral projection? Yes, you can. There's something that I emphasized in one of my videos, that being attacked means someone intentionally used a certain type of energy to affect you, affects your emotion, affects your motion, affects your lucidity. So that is what is an attack. However, there are moments in the astral projection that we may feel something heavy, negative, just because somebody came close to us and they are unbalanced and we sense it. But that's not an attack. That's not something that will be lingering with us. And in a moment like this, we need to know what to do. We need to know what sort of a spirit is that, which level of evolution, what probably is going on, so that we know how to react. But as I already mentioned a few times to all of you in my videos, you follow your intuition at that moment. Do not create confusion in your mind. And if you do not know what to do, you do a velo so that you escape, you go to another dimension, subtler, better one. But give yourself time to observe without being desperate. If we get desperate, afraid, then we will have more trouble getting out of it. I have a whole video explaining about attack during astral projection and give you an example of something that have happened to me. So if you guys want, you take a look there. Probably you will learn a few things there that are interesting. Vinit, hi Vinit. Whatever we think is in astral projection became real. Does this mean astral projection is only thoughts in our mind? No, 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 no. It's not true whatever we think becomes real. If whatever we think becomes real, that's not an astral projection. That is a lucid dream. Lucid dream can have this effect, not astral projection. In the astral projection, what we see, if we are lucid, if we are conscious, if that is an experience in which we are really there observing the events, then in this case, what we experience is an objective environment, an objective situation, meaning we don't change it with our mind. And if I am in an astral projection and you are in the same place, what I see is the same that you see. I think that is important to understand. What you are describing here doesn't sound to me as an astral projection, and it's not true that our thoughts will create the astral projection. Yes, if our thoughts are super chaotic, antagonistic, perhaps even of anger, maybe we are going to visit places that are more like it. But not necessarily. Some people, they are in good condition and they visit a place like it to help, to work in that place. So we need to understand how astral projection operates during the experience per se. I mean, the mechanisms of the astral body and the non-physical dimension. That is key for us to really master the astral projection. Okay, I have some tips for those of you who are joining now. In this book, it's a free book. Oops, I'm getting the wrong one. It's a free book. You can download it from my website, nancitrivellato.com. There are some important tips here. It's a brief text, but content rich. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to bring a question from someone who left to us there in one of the comments. And here I have knowledge. Hello. How do you move the energy? By thinking and focusing about it. Sometimes after deep relaxation, I feel energy is moving in my body, but I do not know what to do with it, to guide it out of my body. At that moment, I feel very confused, very frustrating. The reason why I'm reading slowly here, and I am taking some time to understand your question, I understand what you mean, like sometimes it's frustrating, we are feeling the energy moving, especially after meditation or after relaxation. There's a very logical reason for this. Our energy, the whole energy system of ours, which is composed of chakras and other elements. This whole energy system has a very specific role, which is to connect the physical body to the non-physical astral body. When we are deeply relaxed, and that's why we end up leaving the body when we are relaxed, that's why relaxation is usually a very important prerequisite to leave the body. When we are in that state of relaxation or more focused, this connection between the two bodies tends to become more loosened, and that's what I call the looseness of the energy body. When it is the condition, we will sense more our energy. So we may sense as movement, we may sense as some like spiral movement or just like float. Sometimes we feel floating, but we are just sensing the energy move. And because this energy moves, it gives in our brain the impression we are floating, not necessarily we are yet floating outside the body. It may be just the sensation of the energies loosen. So it's important to understand this. But now you tell me, once I sense it, I do not know what to do. What I would do, in your case, would be just to become familiar with the sensations. And from that point on, what if you try to do a velo technique? Because if your energies are loose and it's positive, when you try the velo technique, which is moving the energies inside your body, upwards and downwards, that's an ancient technique since from Buddha time, and it's called velo. I have coined it velo because I created a method to do this technique, and this method I call velo. Now, when you do this movement, okay, if your energies are really loosened in a healthy way, it's going to be much easier for you to move. Inside of your body will move, but you will move it freely, and you will bring more results. You have more sensations. You go a step further. But sometimes people are so caught into this perception of the energy floating and the energy filled around because it's nice, it's relaxing, that they do not see that that is just a tip of the whole process that they could have. It's just the energy is a bit loosened. There would be lots more to experience. And if we keep, in a way, obsessed, but what I mean by obsessed is super focused only on sensing that, it doesn't move on. What confused me in your question is when you asked what to do to make it leave the body. So you want your energies to go out of the body? So you want to create pulses of energy out? Because that would be one answer from me. But if what you mean by that is you to go out with these energies floating, then that is a completely different process, completely different approach and technique that you would use. What I would say for now that will be helpful to you is observe. This sensation gives you a feeling of hope. I'm not saying happiness, I'm saying confidence, a feeling that you feel you want to go beyond in a very serene way, or does it make you feel in different ways that would be more emotional or sentiments more like melancholy or something like this? You see what I mean? Because the awareness that should come with the looseness of the energy makes us feel super lucid, observing and knowing a lot, and super balanced. That is the feeling that should come with it. And with that feeling, then we can observe what's going on in our physical body, in our energy body, and therefore also in the energy field of our room where we are, which type of non-physical consciousnesses could be close by, and then we leave the body, what sort of experience we are going to have. So this description or this detailed analysis of the type of energy that is there and what sort of effect it is producing on you is key here. Because then, knowing that, we can think, so I want to send energies out of my body for whatever reason. Maybe you want to send someone, maybe you want to spread them in your room, okay? Or you want to go out with it. Then it will be more clear to you, and bring it in another live video here, and I'll be happy to answer that. Okay? So, Carol, thank you. During the velo technique, if we are not feeling the energy moving up and down, how can we be sure we are doing right? That is probably one of the questions that I hear the most. What I can tell you is that same process I have gone through, because not everyone senses the energy clearly. We do sense the energy, but not clear enough for the brain to register it. Because we need to remember that when we are doing the velo technique, for example, that requires, right, some mindfulness of the energy, some attention. When we are doing it, we are inside the body. And therefore, we have to sense something that is very subtle. We are dealing with subtle energies of the non physical body, but we want to sense it in the physical body. So we have an interface, and the interface for this sensation is the brain, how the brain registers that sensation. So, what I would say to you is that you have to look for different signs. One thing that to me I used to use a lot is to observe how easy it is to focus, to concentrate, to aim at moving the energies upwards and downwards in different sessions. And if we were not doing it, the difficulty would always be the same. Does it make sense to you? The difficulty would always be the same, because then what? Of course, we are only dealing with the physical body and the physical mind and our imagination, if it were imagination. But if it's different, if there's a moment that you say, I cannot even bring my mind to focus on it, it's like it dissipates immediately. And in another day, you feel you are more focused. Apparently, it's just focus, right? But you are more focused and you even enjoy more that. That is a sign that you are doing something. And the difference from one day to another, unless you are tired and you are not doing with the same effort, with the same diligence, but if you are, the difference from one session to another is the type of fluidity of your energy body and the type of energy that is around. There may be a presence that interferes. There may be something in the environment, or there may be something, some sort of energy only that will interfere, even coming from far. So you will recognize that velo is not always the same. We need to train the brain. I have explained this in other videos in detail. We need to train our brain to be able to register the perceptions that are energy perceptions. So, but our brain is looking for what? Very objective, physical sense. Wow, I feel heat, I feel pulse, I feel a wave moving, right? If I'm moving up and down, I have to feel something is going there inside my body. But we don't feel like that in the majority of the time. If we have really a decision to move energy, and I explain that a lot in my course, Velo 101. Velo 101 is a step-by-step guide on what to do to perform Velo correctly and how to interpret this sort of thing. But as I mentioned there, if you have a clear decision, you want to do it, because of course if we are doing, we want it, right? But sometimes it's more like, yeah, I want it, it's important for me. But other times it's, I'm going to control this. This is the most important thing I can do for me in level of the healthiness of my energy, so I'm going to do it. So decision can be a strong decision, or just, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna try. Also, you need to have an action. You have a decision and you want it to happen, right? It's decision to do that and you want it to happen. That's what creates the pulse of energy. And to move energy, we do not do like a ping pong ball. Pong, pong. No. To move the energy, we have to follow the energy through our energy body, all over. So we are the ones carrying it from one side to another. If you just send energy down and leave it, it's going to go in completely disorganized ways. Only a percentage of it. It's very important that you are controlling it. And the third element you need to be sure is present is attention. Now, you have decision. You want to do it. So you put some effort, of course, some mental effort, because your effort is not with the physical body, it's with the energy body. But you put decision. You want to do it. So you put will. And you have attention. You're not getting distracted, sleep in the middle of it. You are doing it, I guarantee. And you will learn to recognize the signs, such as in these examples that I mentioned to you. Okay? Is that good, guys? So I'm going to bring another question from our previous slides. And I have here Mandos. How to shield from these? And we were talking about black magic and energy that invade us. I feel my last relationship was very affected. Both people that I loved passed away. If you feel in some way, people that passed away is because things were not very balanced around, you have to check that and you have to make a real step ahead for you to balance your own energy field. There is one whole program that I offer that is how to build a multidimensional force field in your place. And one day I will offer this in English. But the process to do that requires we balance out our own energy, which there are lots of techniques. I recommend you learn to do velo. Not velo is going to be the only technique you will do in your life. I'm not saying that, but to balance your energy and give you perception of what is around, that is key. And also, we need to do emission of energy. And you check my video on how to cleanse your house energetically. Check my video because I produced a video that is a step-by-step guide. You take a look there. Now, then what you have to do, especially in a case like this one that we just saw here, that you mentioned, relationship, how to protect the case of a relationship. Oh, if someone wants to unbalance us, a great easy way is to mess with our relationships, especially those that are very important, very close ones, especially when it's a couple's relationship. Because then it's like it infiltrates in every way in our lives. And many spirits do that. Many spirits do that, and many people, consciously or unconsciously, end up doing that by sending some information. Some, they know very well what they are doing. Some, they don't. What is important is that we can recognize the signs and be stronger than that negativity. It's not only negativity. Sometimes we end up feeling we lack vitality, we lack motivation, we lack strength to act. And in this case, we need to find this strength. And the exercises there I mentioned, but let me tell you one thing about having the proper strength, and that is for me key. When we are handling our own energies in our energy body, nobody, not a physical person, not a non-physical person, a spirit, is stronger than us, can have more control than us. However, we tend to reduce our capacity, our force, our power to handle the situation and work with energy properly because we are psychologically affected. So we feel down, or we feel afraid, or we feel we are incapable of doing it. And that is what causes this sort of weakness at the moment that we are going to work with energy. So there are a few things that I want to mention to you. Number one, velo. You are doing velo and you are struggling with it. Struggling because you try to focus, you try to push, and then you feel like there's something stopping you, but you're still trying. Please celebrate every pulse of energy up and down that you do under this huge effort. Celebrate. Why celebrate? If you are doing it, the same effort that you are putting in on it to continue moving is the effort that you are requiring these entities or negative energies to do to be able to penetrate you. Do you understand? So it's almost like you are arm wrestling. If somebody is holding you here, even if you are not moving, you are not progressing, you are only here, you have to apply the same force that the other person is applying to do this. So doing velo, even though it's a huge effort, may seem to all of you guys that I'm not progressing. Believe me, you are giving a hard time to whichever is trying to interfere. So you have to trust yourself. It's psychologically that they win. And the other thing is, those who do not give up are the ones that win. At the end of the day, those which will be stronger with the energies and their will prevail. These entities, they win because they make us tired. They make it more difficult for us to sleep. They create sometimes difficulty in our relationships, as you mentioned in your question. They create sometimes even situations in which in our workplace we are unbalanced, we feel things are not going well for no explanation. And then you imagine, if we don't sleep well, we are not absorbing energy well, we are under pressure after a while, they win. But what means they win? Means we don't struggle to win anymore. We just give in. Giving in is giving them the winning flag. If we do not give up and we keep working and we keep working, we keep working, no matter how much effort you have to do, no matter how many times you are going to wake up in the middle of the night and have to do your velo again to cleanse yourself, no matter how much you have to be careful with the conversations you have during the day so that nothing goes wrong, it doesn't matter. If you continue working, you will win because somebody will have to give up. It cannot be you because inside of you, inside of you, nobody can more than you. Here in my book, Vibration State, this is the Portuguese version, but you have the English version. I have a slogan, something that I repeat a lot, and that's for me the most important thing of my work is for me like a mission that I say, everyone can. So please, guys, you can control your energy. You can balance out your own energy field at will by yourself without any dependence. You do not have to depend on anybody. You can learn because after we live this life, we go through the biological death. We are going to be who we are. And the master of our energy will be as far as we have developed it. So it's important that we have in mind that every exercise we do on the right direction, I'm not saying any exercise is positive. There are exercises that they have big risks and some that they are frankly negative. But there are good exercises. I mentioned velo because it's one that I have researched for 15 years. And I put all of the research in my book, Vibrational State. So I know how it works. I can recommend. And it doesn't have side effects as many others. But there are many techniques you can do. But no matter which one you do, it may take a while. But at the end of the day, you will win. Do you understand what I mean? Against these negative energies or negative feelings that come. What is important is that by doing the right technique and understanding what's going on, understanding the mechanism, understanding the interaction between the physical and the non-physical life, by understanding all of that, you will gain wisdom, knowledge, real self-mastery, which goes with you to a future lifetime. So it's not just a matter of applying a technique for this moment. Okay, now I am balanced. But you don't even know what happened. Somebody else did whatever thing, and now you don't notice anymore the negative thing. Maybe it's even there, but you don't notice anymore. That is not, in my opinion, okay, guys, that is not the most effective use of our opportunity in this lifetime. The most effective use is let us understand how different dimensions and different frequencies of energies interact, how I can master it, how I can put myself in as balanced condition as possible. We are not going to be fully developed, advanced, top of evolution in one lifetime. I am not, because I know how much more I need. And in my research, and as we study in the International Academy of Consciousness, I know how much more all of us need who are here together now, interested in this topic at this level. So it's not a matter of becoming perfect. It's a matter of going steps ahead. That's how we evolve, and that's how we take important skills with us from one life to another. And that's why, for some people, it's easier to sense energy in this lifetime or to leave the body. What matters is not how easy it is, but how much you are progressing. And it matters much more than controlling energies and being able to sense energies or leaving the body. What level of ethics you have. Ethics is more important than doing a phenomenon. That is key in our evolution. I hope I have clarified, because I think there were so many different angles in this question. Thank you so much for bringing it to us. Another one, Carol. Yes, thank you. Antonietta, hi. Can you tell us what is the reason to see same body in different times on Earth? Is only the body the same, or the consciousness also is the same and rebirth? How this is possible? I don't understand what you mean by the same body. I understand what you mean by same consciousness. Because what I refer to when I say consciousness, I'm referring to our essence. The intelligent principle, whatever that is, that right now makes me feel as myself, and I have skills that I keep adding and developing from one life to another. But I also have things that I need to learn, and maybe conditionings that are not very smart, that I also carry from one life to another, and I'll be changing. This, the consciousness, as far as the evidences show us, with everything that I have witnessed and heard people tell their accounts and read, it seems that this is one. We go from one life to another with this same consciousness, not speaking the state of consciousness, speaking consciousness as self. So it's the same self. So right now, what manifests here in this body as Nanci is my self. But myself is a lot like what I express here, but there are many aspects that I don't express, because maybe they are latent. Maybe there are things that I still need to have some experience to bring them more at the surface of my manifestation. So consciousness is the same. The body is different in each lifetime. And the appearance of our body in between lives is related to many things, including how we see ourselves. The astral body does not have a specific appearance. It's we, each of us, who end up imprinting that specific appearance to it. That is why, please allow me this parenthesis, it is so important to understand the out-of-body experience, so that we can recognize when we see some consciousness, somebody, what their appearance means, and if what we are seeing is really who they are. So, some topics here, at least for you to ponder, because your question was not very clear to me. Now I'm going to bring another question from our comments in the YouTube. Thank you, Nancy. Oh, wonderful. I was trying Velo and started feeling a vibration through all my body, but I also had the feeling of rotating counterclockwise, or that my surroundings rotated counterclockwise very fast, making me a bit nauseous. Do you have an interpretation for this? According to my experience, in the best way that I can understand what you are describing, it's limited to my understanding of your description. But according to my experience, the increase of vibration was you starting to have this resonance, like having all chakras, hundreds of them, vibrating in unison. So creates this feeling of a vibration inside. There are different degrees or intensities for this vibration. If it is a vibrational state, even the subtlest of the intensities, it's still quite intense. I believe what you had was a vibrational state because of what you described followed that sensation. And you say you started feeling like soaring, like something flowing counterclockwise. Doesn't matter, counterclockwise, clockwise, and goes and goes. It doesn't matter the direction. What matters is the sensation. Especially when you say it was as if it was you and your energy doing it, but you felt here outside. That is one very common reaction when we are closer to detach from the body, from a lucid conscious astral projection. I do not know how you reacted to the sensation, but in this moment, the best thing to do is just go with the feeling of the spiral sensation. I even have a whole video here in my channel explaining about when we leave the body spinning. There you have very important tips. But when we have this, we have to learn how to let go and allow this process to go further, like we sense even in a stronger way. That is then when we can have the lucid astral projection. Of course, we can have the lucid astral projection in many different ways, but according to your experience, that would be the ideal for you to have done. Good. Can I go one or two questions more? Can you guys stay with me? So I'm going to get two questions here from you guys, and then in the next Q&A, I get some of the other ones that were left on the comments. I notice a pattern in dreams, I think are projections. It occurs when I am projected in environments I don't recognize and encounter other people. I see an affirmation. Continuation. Okay. When I tell these people I am projecting from a physical body, they react surprised and sometimes come towards me with bad intent. Are these OBEs? Is this behavior typical meeting of spirits and OBE? This happened many times. Yes. I wouldn't say it's typical, but it does happen. Because some individuals that we meet in between lives, who are in between lives, they are not very conscious of what multidimensional reality means. And if they see you flying, they may feel like there's something wrong. This guy here, same thing if someone is flying here in the middle of the street, we will say, what is going on? Same thing can happen outside the body. Sometimes even by seeing us with a very shine sphere of energy, when we are projected, we have a sphere of energy around of us that tends to be very luminous, but it varies from experience to experience, depending on our density, on our lucidity, many different aspects. But when we are with this sphere of energy very luminous, then this non-physical consciousness, these spirits, they may see us and feel threatened, feel afraid. So yes, what you described can happen, definitely. And sometimes we have these guys a bit in these projections so that we don't think so loud. And this is what I'm saying is just a way of expressing it. Because when we are manifesting in the astral projection and we are observing and thinking, we are super lucid, those who are around, they observe it. Not necessarily they will know 100% what we are thinking, but they will get a feeling and they see it's different. So next time you try to be more discreet. That's it. More discreet. Observe and then don't allow your energy to go so much to the objects and people observing. It's going to be more of an introspective observation. And what you will do if they notice you is what you have already been doing. Go back to the body. But I will suggest you do something different next time. You do a velo technique there, outside the body, while you are projected. Because when you do velo there, many different things can happen. You can just change dimension and go to a subtler dimension, change the level of lucidity you are, increase your balance, increase the quality of the energy in your energy field in that specific environment. There are many things that can happen. Worst thing is you get out of there, disappear, but not necessarily you have to come back to the body. Sometimes it's unavoidable, we come back to the body. So see how it goes. Try these strategies that I am suggesting to you here. Nice, guys. And one more, Carol. Thank you. Do you think that one of the purposes of our physical existence is to become aware of our subtle bodies? And to revive and exercise them? You couldn't have expressed better what I think. Because when we are here in this dimension, we have the possibility of dealing with this dense dimension and a subtler one. When we are projected outside the body, sometimes we also have a projection there, but it's much rare and it's a projection of completely different type. It's a projection only with our mental awareness. So the only way for us to exercise our capacity to master the quality of energy, the type, the characteristic, the density, the intensity, the frequency, all of the different aspects of the energies of the physical body, of the energetic interface, the energy body, and of the astral body is by doing what we are doing here, trying to make sense of this interaction between physical and non-physical life. The more lucid we are of it, the more we can control it, the more we understand life. I am very far from being at a point that I would say, no, I have a lot to grow on this, as everyone I know has. But in this case, when we start knowing more, understanding more, we will have more clarity of our purpose in this life. We'll have more clarity of our role in the lives of each of the people we meet and their role in ours, because everything is more clear. We will have a much better understanding of multidimensional manifestation, our true multidimensional nature. So I think you describe it beautifully. And there's so much for us to go ahead. Imagine one day we can be out of the body, astral projection, conscious, at will, anytime we want, directly, without having to do a lot of long, complex techniques, and being lucid in all of them, and in each moment of our lives, knowing what is going on in the physical world, but also what is going on in an energy level and in a non-physical astral level. That would inform us so much about everything that is going on. Right now, I think we are almost with our eyes closed and walking, not seeing. That's how I feel. But even us, walking my analogy with eyes closed, we know so much more than 90% of the population of this planet. So those of you who are following with me this sort of study that we, all of us here, right? We are not looking for an easy solution. We are looking for growth, understanding, progress. Indeed, going steps ahead in our evolution. Any of us who can have this level of understanding We are minority in this planet, but we are not special because we are still walking with blindfold in an analogy, saying how much we still have to understand. Thank you, Janina. Was a wonderful question. So I hope this has given you guys some ideas. I enjoyed so much your press. Oh, Carol is bringing one more. You see? This one. Okay, bring Carol. Peter, I'm okay to continue. I just do not want the video to be too long, so you don't get tired. Peter says, I experience irregular spontaneous OBEs. When my physical body dies, will I be conscious only part of the time? Will I wake up in the non-physical with similar frequency as my current OBs are? Peter, by logics, no, you will be conscious. The reason why we only once in a while have conscious out-of-body experience is because there are too many variables to control and too many variables in place. One of them is how much we can recall. Believe me, we recall a tiny fragment of our projections. Another thing is how is the condition of our tiredness, brain and physical tiredness at that day? What sort of non-physical presence would be close to us? How stressed we are with our routine everyday life? We all have lots of stresses. All of that has to be taken into consideration. But if you do experience out-of-body experience once in a while, if you find yourself outside the body, lucid, knowing that you are projected, my guess is that 99% chances that's not how you will be after you pass away. That is just a small tip, just a small glimpse of how you will be, because we tend to become much more lucid after we pass away. When we still have the physical body, we have the silver cord. Silver cord, energetic interface, all the energies of the chakra, different angles of the same thing that operates in different ways. But we have the silver cord. And then because the silver cord is there connecting us to the astral body, we are projected, but we still have some attachments to the physical life. We still have some denser energies with us there. So when we are in between lives, it tends to become easier, but taking into consideration only the elements that you described. There are many other things to be taken into consideration. For example, how the person dies, what sort of environment the person ends up going to after the biological death. So a number of things that we have to take into consideration, but observing only the evidence that you said, what I would say is never mind, it's going to be okay. Having said that, I must clarify something to the others of you who are watching this video. That does not mean that if you do not have a lucid out-of-body experience, you will probably not going to be lucid after you pass away. No, because the same variables that I just explained that take place, and sometimes we do not manage to have as frequently as we would like the out-of-body experience, same variables sometimes are in place and we don't remember having any experience whatsoever in a given lifetime. Nonetheless, the learning, the wisdom that we have already acquired from other lifetimes, who we are is present in our energy, in our level of cosmoethics, and we explain that beautifully in the consciousness development program. If you want a huge overview, don't hesitate to take a look there. I'm not saying this to sell the consciousness development program. It's closed. If you go there, it's not for sale now. So, but I'm saying this because if you look for an opportunity, keep this in mind, because there are too many aspects. So you see, I concern here in giving an answer based on that one evidence and leaving the others of you who perhaps are not so confident that you are experiencing astral projection, doubting what is going to be your condition after this life. There are many, many factors to be considered. All right? That was very nice, final question for us, Carol. I appreciate very much. I hope you guys enjoyed. I enjoyed very much. One more. Okay, Ande. Okay, Carol, I am okay. I was able to try velo in practice. Later, I had to get into some environment whose energy not so great. Since then, I can't do velo. How I can get myself to practice again? My mind is so occupied. What you described happens, Ande. And in this case, you went to that environment. Things were not good there, perhaps people were in a chaos relationship, sometimes a meeting, sometimes a place we visit, and we are affected by those energies. What happens in this case? The energy of our chakras and our energy field interact with those other energies that are outside in the environment or from some specific person or some specific event. And those energies tend to penetrate and create some level of blockage. It's almost like a blockage because it's a contamination. Our energies become mixed with those. While you are still having the sensation of that environment you went to, meaning you can remember how that felt like, is because you still have some of its energy there with you, so you can relive it. It's important that you do velo enough to get rid of these because you probably were used to doing your velo technique at a certain period of time for certain minutes and have a certain level of perception or looseness that you would get after that period of time. But then when we have this almost like a contamination in our energy field, then we may find it very hard to do velo. Believe me, it happens to me. Just like a couple of weeks ago, I went to someone's house and I ended up getting some energy that was very heavy because they are in a hard situation, not bad people, it was not bad. But to me, that penetrated completely. And I think I even left there with some non-physical presence with me, like some spirit with me. So I say, okay, I'm going to do my velo to improve. And it took me a while. And then I was thinking of you guys. How can someone with less experience go through this phase knowing how long will I have to do this velo? In which way? So I'm going to give you some tips. For this, I suggest you do a longer session. You say, I'm going to stop when I get rid of this. And you will sense immediately, because it's like you have that and then all of a sudden, blah, it's like you unplugged something or you have a clogged pipe and bah. So you will recognize that. So you do it for longer. When you do it for longer, you have to try and push a little bit harder the energy. So let's say you are bringing the energy up, and normally you put a certain level of attention, concentration. You're going to put more, as if you were having to move something heavier. So that's the analogy I do in my mind, right? Like you are sucking those energies until they come up. You want to make those energies that are contaminated, that became fields, less loosened, more stagnant fields of energy inside of you. You want to make them flow together with the rest of your energy that you normally make it flow. So adjust the speed, adjust the intensity, give yourself time to pull it and go and do the velo for a longer time. It's once and you get rid of it. Because if that's something that you got just because of that visit, the sooner you take care of it, the better. I have already worked with some people, especially in the VIP training that we do at the IAC campus, which is 10 days, only one person. I am one of the instructors. Usually I'm teaching the class with Wagner Allegretti. So it's both of us for the student, one student. And some people, they had contamination in their energy field from years. In this case that I have in my mind, because the person went to a ritual, spiritual ritual in the woods, actually in the forest, I think was in Chile or I'm not 100% sure of which country. But then the person never came back to its regular energetic condition. So we had to work a lot with the person. And she was so disciplined. She knew what she had to do, and she was like, you have time to rest. No, I'm going to do a little bit more of that. And it was something that was amazing, the change that she could have. But we need to struggle. And sometimes for hours. It doesn't matter. The sooner you work with it, any of you, in any process you guys are dealing with, the sooner, the easier. And go, take your time, find a moment that you can dedicate 1 hour, 2 hours to Velo without feeling I have to get rid of this. No, I have to make my energy flow. You don't focus on the problem. You focus on the energy flow, which is what is the natural condition of the manifestation of your energy. That's what you have to do. Wonderful. Full of good questions, right, Carol? So it's hard to stop. So, guys, I'm thinking that perhaps in our future next live or one of the next ones, doing some sort of energy exercise with you. What do you think? You leave me in the comments down below if you would like it. After we close this video, you leave in the comments, so I will have this registered there, and I can see what you think about it. And I think I'm not going to be able to be with you next week. Not sure, but I will advise you in advance if I will be here with you. Okay? Thank you so much, so much. You cannot imagine how much I truly, truly enjoy exchanging these ideas with you. And the questions are so good that they allow us to go so deep. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next one. I appreciate very much you being here.